Has it started? Okay. Yes. All right. I just wanted a quick confirmation that you guys can hear me, please. Yeah, because okay, I seem to be getting a message. All right, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to is it the 4th day? Yes, day 4 of your webinar for F8. I am going to have a quick overview of what we have done up till now before we start with the new topic for today. Let me just quickly share my screen so it's better this way. All right, guys. So a quick recap of what we have done up till now so that, like I said in the very first webinar, it's very important that you understand the stage of audit we are at right now. Right, guys. So if you remember, we started off with a discussion on factors we need to consider before we accept an assignment. And then we went on to sign an engagement letter, which is sort of the contract between the client and the auditor. At the audit planning stage, we made the audit strategy. You should be very clear by now that the audit strategy would have 4 further elements, which includes understanding the client, finding out the risky areas, in other words, the audit risk, determining materiality, which is called preliminary materiality at this stage, and then deciding the scope, timing, and direction. Audit plan is slightly different in the sense that strategy is the overall approach. Plan is detailed work that you're going to do based on that strategy. The next stage was the systems of preparing financial statements. So the idea was that if the systems of preparing financial statements are strong, then there might be lesser chances of fraud and error in those financial statements. We had already gained the understanding at the planning stage. We will document it. You could have narratives, flowcharts, or questionnaires. I keep saying this, please be very careful on the terminology. We test for 2 things. Are we happy with the way the system has been designed? And are we okay with the operating effectiveness of the system? So operating effectiveness is primarily, is the system actually working as I was told? You're going to report all deficiencies to the management in a letter called letter of weaknesses or management letter. And based on this conclusion, you're going to decide whether you're going to have a bigger sample size or a smaller sample size at the next stage. Yesterday, we covered an area that a lot of you struggled with. So the idea was that once I've evaluated the system for preparing financial statements, I now actually have to work on the actual financial statements. So substantive testing is where I'm going to verify the assertions which have been made by classes of transactions and account balances and related disclosures. I am going to gather sufficient appropriate evidence on which I can base my conclusion. And you should also know that we did this yesterday, that in order to gather this sufficient appropriate evidence, we have various procedures that we can adopt. So we could be inspecting documents, tangible assets. We could be inquiring from the management, internal auditor. We could be conducting external confirmations, etc., etc. Within the F8 syllabus, there are a list of areas on which substantive procedures have to be prepared. All those areas are best prepared from your revision notes. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but the idea is that you need to have a brief overview of the work that is done in each area, because like we did yesterday, there are going to be many scenarios given, so case studies given, and you'll have to determine which of your knowledge is being asked for that particular case scenario. Also, for section A, we again, because of course that's OT cases, objective test questions, you will need to be very clear on how to test completeness, which is very different from how to test existence. So completeness and existence are exact opposites. If you don't understand that, you'll mess up section A and you'll also mess up section B. So please spend plenty of time on section B for the substantive procedures, and all past exams from December 2000, no, not December 12. From June 12 onwards, That's the sort of testing that now comes up. So in exams before June 2012, you don't need to do the substantive procedures because that was a different form of testing. June 12 to December 17, these are all the past papers that you can use for practicing your substantive procedures. We are now nearing the end of the audit. Okay. Now the last stage has two parts to it: review and reporting. Review is again more procedures, more work before tomorrow we actually decide the opinion that we need to give and the report that we have to make. At the end of the session today, and this is very important for students from Pakistan, at the end of the session today, towards the end, we are going to have a discussion on computer-based exams as well. So I have a few tips and techniques that you need to keep in mind. I am doing this today so that you can come back tomorrow after practicing and let me know if you have any questions at all. So we'll talk about tips and techniques. We'll talk about which functions you should use in your exam and which functions you can completely avoid. We'll talk about some examiners' feedback regarding the common mistakes that students are making in computer-based exams. So the last part of the session today is going to be very, very crucial for students who are taking their exams as computer-based in the March session. So without further ado, we're now going to start the review stage of audit. So, you know, like every other topic, you have to be clear on the level of or the type of work that is done at each stage. So for review stage, just remember, we're going to be doing three types of things. We're going to be conducting a subsequent event review. We're going to be conducting a going concern review, and there will be something called an overall review today. So three topics that we are going to be covering today. Let's start with the most difficult one. So even as per the examiner's feedback, as per my experience as a tutor who's been teaching F8 for God knows how long, this is an area that students struggle with the most. Please remember that for subsequent events review, your knowledge of IAS 10 is assumed knowledge. So you should be very clear on what adjusting and non-adjusting events are. That is not something that we're going to be covering in F8. That's something you should automatically know from your F3 studies. For this review, in the F8 exams, you could be asked 4 types of questions. I will probably give you 1 or 2 events with all the relevant information. The first thing you'll have to tell me is whether that event is adjusting or non-adjusting event. Please remember that you can't simply say this is adjusting and move on. And I want you to pay attention, guys. So when you're asked for adjusting or non-adjusting, if it's an adjusting event, there are 2 things you have to do. Explain why. So because these conditions existed at the year end or at the balance sheet date, you'll have to explain why you're classifying this as an adjusting event. And you will have to tell me what adjustment is needed. And this is what most students miss out on. So you'll have to tell me, oh, this is an adjusting event because this condition existed at the balance sheet date. Receivables will need to be written down by 20,000. Inventory will need to be written down by 50,000. Or a provision needs to be created, so liabilities have to go up by 70,000. So please remember that this is automatically assumed that you have to explain the adjustment. There are separate marks for that. If it's a non-adjusting event, you'll have to explain why. So why are you saying no adjustment is needed? And then you'll have to explain that if it's material, a disclosure is needed. So no double entry, but a disclosure is needed. That's the first thing you have to do. So guys, please remember, for you to be able to get a good number of marks for the first element, this is the technique that has to be followed. You will also, or you might also be asked to explain auditor's responsibilities. So for these, you will have to evaluate the dates that are given and then you can come up with your answer. We'll be discussing the responsibilities, etc. You will always be asked for procedures. You'll have to be very specific about understanding what procedures are being asked. Are there procedures to identify events, or are there procedures on the event which are given in the scenario? And last but not the least, you might be asked to explain the impact on audit opinion and audit report. This is not what we're doing today. This is what we'll be doing tomorrow. So in any question on subsequent event, these are the 4 sort of issues that we could be tested on. So guys, let's stop for a second. This was just an F8 overview. Let's stop for a second and think, what are we actually doing? I don't really understand. We started off with audit planning. We went on to evaluate internal control, and then we verified the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. Just before you give an opinion, your auditing standards say that there could be some subsequent events. So you should know these are after the year end. So there could be some subsequent events which might require either an adjustment or a disclosure in the financial statements. So before you give your opinion, up till now, you were checking or focusing on the financial statements for the year ended 31st December that have been prepared. Now you need to see if something happened after the year end, which might require an adjustment or a disclosure in the financial statements that you're auditing. So that's the idea behind it. Number 1, let's start with number 1, guys. This is your assumed knowledge, a quick revision. If it's an adjusting event, it would be because it provides additional evidence of conditions that existed at the balance sheet date. So you would say this is an adjusting event because it provides additional evidence of conditions which were there at the year end. And this would mean that you need to make an adjustment. Similarly, if it's a non-adjusting event, it's because those conditions were not there at the year end. So if there was a flood after the year end, the condition, which is the flood, did not happen at 31st December. So as at 31st December, there was no flood. So it's not an event which would require adjustment. Now, this revision has to be slightly more detailed for non-adjusting events. Sometimes the non-adjusting event is so huge that because of this event, the client might not be a going concern anymore. So for example, I'm a manufacturing company. My biggest balance in the balance sheet was inventory. Because of the flood, all of inventory has been destroyed. The insurance company is not willing to give me anything because my inventory was not insured for natural disasters. I had already been struggling in terms of cash, and I'm now pretty sure that I will have to shut down in the next 12 months. So although it's a non-adjusting event, the impact is so huge that I will now need to make my financial statements on a breakup basis. So I will need to, for example, you don't need to know this in detail, but for example, all my assets will now come at the market value. However, if it's just a regular non-adjusting event with no impact on the company shutting down, you do not need a double entry. However, if it's material, you might need to disclose this in the notes to the accounts. So in my notes, I'll just say, oh, by the way, there was a flood. Some of our inventory has been damaged. We are negotiating with the insurance company and we'll get the money. So I have no concerns that the company is shutting down. But again, I'm disclosing that there was a flood that you should be aware of. So this, guys, is entirely your F3 knowledge that you need to be very, very clear on. So Guys, please stop typing in questions. Just listen to me very carefully. The minute you see an event, the first thing, keeping in mind this screen, which is you can see right now, you'll have to decide is whether it's an adjusting event or a non-adjusting event. Now I'm starting audit. Now, if you look over here, this is a certain scenario. Let's just look at the dates right now. My year end is 30th November. So I'm auditing the financial statements for the year ended 30th November. Financial statements were approved by the board of director on 10th of January. So December, all the entire month, and a few days of January I've taken, and the final financial statements have been approved. On these approved financial statements, the auditors have given their report. So whatever opinion is given, it is on the approved or the final financial statements that have been signed. And the annual general meeting is or was on the 20th of January 2018. So AGM is where you formally present the audited financial statements to the members or the shareholders. So this is the timeline for my story that is up here right now. I'm now going to talk about audit, not accounting anymore. The auditing standards say that from the year end until the audit report is signed, you have to conduct two types of procedures. The first one, and this is important, you'll have to conduct procedures. Just bear with me. I'm not speaking for the next few minutes, okay? So don't say there's an audio issue. I'm not speaking. I'm just writing. Again, bear with me, guys. I'm trying to make a summary which is easier for you to remember, okay? Okay, so this is like the simplest way we can do this. Okay, so let's listen to the story, by the way. So from the year end until I sign the audit report, I can't just sit in my office and wait for someone to tell me that a post-year end event has happened. I can't do that. So from the year end until I sign the report, I have to put in effort to identify events which might need an adjustment or disclosure. How can I do that? I keep reading minutes of all the meetings, be it board meetings or shareholder meetings, all of them. So for the month of December, for the month of January until the 11th of January, I'm going to keep reading all the minutes of the meetings to see if there's anything that has happened that I'm not aware of. You should also look at post year-end management accounts. Guys, management accounts are the monthly accounts that management makes for itself for decision making. If something bad has happened or if a huge event has happened, it would be reflected in the management accounts as well. So from the 30th of November until the 11th of January, I have to keep looking at the minutes and keep looking at the management accounts in the effort to identify anything that might require an adjustment or disclosure. I could simply keep asking the management as well. So simply ask the management until the 11th of January, has something happened? Is there something I should be aware of? Also inquire from the lawyer. So, you know, the company's legal advisor, just ask them until the 11th of January if there's any event which has happened that he's aware of that we should find out about. There's a lot more work you can do. Keep reviewing the normal post balance sheet work that you do, receivables recovery issues, NRV issues, all of that is ongoing anyway. But this is the additional identification work that you have to do, and these are the procedures that you'll need to learn because they come as straightforward. So use your revision notes to learn those procedures. Plus, not only will I have to put in the effort to identify event, once the event is found, maybe I found it, maybe I was just told by the management, it doesn't matter. You also have to conduct procedures on the event that is given. So if it's a fire, a flood, a receivable which has gone bankrupt, inventory which was there at the year end, now I know it, you can't sell it for that much, etc., etc. The scenario relevant procedures will still need to be carried out. So your auditing standards say that from the year end until the audit report is signed, you have to look for events that might require adjustment or disclosure. And once you are aware of events, you'll have to work on them. By work on them, again, find out whether you need an adjustment or a disclosure, etc., etc. Once the audit report is signed, so on the 11th of January, I signed my audit report to say financial statements given true and fair view, in my opinion, etc., etc. So the audit report has now been signed. You don't need to do part A anymore. So you don't have to identify procedure events yourself. However, if you become aware of such an event, number one, you'll have to discuss with the management whether they are going to amend the financial statements. So discuss with the management. If it's a material event, you'll ask the management, I know you've signed it. I know 10th January is gone, but because now this has happened and this is the impact, are you going to change the financial statements or not? If the management amends the financial statements, you will need to give a new audit report. Please remember, guys, this report on 11th January was given for the financial statements prepared on the 10th of January. If those financial statements have changed, then my report will also change. On the other hand, if management has no plans of amending the financial statements, then you always have the AGM. You can speak to the shareholders at the AGM and tell them what the circumstances are. Or you could contact your lawyer or legal advisor to discuss what can now be done as well. Because the idea is, guys, I have given my report on the audited financials, on the financial statements signed on the 10th of January. If those financial statements don't change, I can't change my report. So after the report has been signed, if I become aware of such an event, I'm going to, number one, discuss with the management. If they are willing to make the adjustments or include the disclosures, I'll just give a new audit report with a new date. If it doesn't happen, I always have the option of attending, not the option, I have the right to attend the annual general meeting and tell the shareholders what has happened. So when I talk about auditors' responsibilities and procedures, we've done both together. So auditors' responsibilities are different until report is signed. Audit report is signed. They are different after the report has been signed. And the procedures vary. If it's before the report has been signed, I have to perform two types of procedures. If it's afterwards, I can only perform procedures if the management is willing to amend the financial statements. This, guys, is the basic overview of what happens in a subsequent event review. So I'll open up the chat box in just a minute, but as the management, the idea is I might try, so I'm talking as the management, I might try to hide events which might require adjustments to my assets. Maybe they'll decrease my assets. Maybe they'll have a negative impact on my liabilities, or maybe I'm going to try and hide disclosures. So in order to make sure they don't do that, I'll have to look for events and then confirm the events as well. I'm opening up the chat box, guys, to see what questions you have. All right. Sarah, breakup basis means that it's a very technical accounting term, but the idea is that you now assume that the company is being sold. So all your assets will now have to be recorded at fair value or the market value. So the idea is you'll have to make adjustments to your assets. Additional liabilities will arise, but all of that is not relevant to your F8 knowledge. If new report takes place on the existing report, Suhail, financial statements will still be for that year end. Let's be very clear, guys. Financial statements, the dates will not change. It is still as at 30th November. My audit report date will change. Because remember, financial statements are made for the year end. So my year end hasn't changed. The audit report date will change. Tayyib Sheikh, if the audit report has not been signed yet, then we don't talk at the AGM in any case. If you look at your screen, guys, if it's before the 11th of January, then I'm not talking at the AGM to begin with. Anything that happens before my audit report is signed, I can reflect that in my opinion. But once I've signed it, I can't amend my audit report until the financial statements are changed. What else, guys? Come on. Sarah, it could be something, anything. See, it could be a flood, it could be a fire, it could be a receivable saying, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you the money. There's so many ways you can find out about the event. Zainab, yes. Based on subsequent events, I'll have to see whether disclosures or adjustments are needed, and then I will decide the impact. I will decide my procedures, and after my procedures, I'll decide the impact on the audit report. So it's exactly the same sequence that we discussed. Yes, Neha. In my example, flood was non-adjusting if it does not impact going concern. So if it does not have an impact on going concern, then yes, it is a non-adjusting event. Are we ready to do an exam question, guys? Fazlul Murshid, yes, procedures on the event that has happened in the F8 scenario. So whatever has happened, you'll have to find out whether it's adjusting or not. You'll have to do confirmations. You'll have to confirm the adjustment or disclosure, all of the stuff, whatever is relevant to that event. It depends on what has happened. Anything else, guys? Are we ready to do a question? We're going to be doing 1 or 2 exam questions. So let's see. If events come in knowledge of auditor after financial statement issuance, then you need to contact your legal advisor, because now the financial statements have issued. So you contact your legal advisor to find out what can be done. All right. So guys, be very careful. I do not need overconfidence. This is an area that you will slightly struggle with. Keeping all of this in mind, I'm going to discuss this question in about 10 minutes. Please be very careful that you need to discuss part 1, think of part 2, and give me very specific marks. I want you to get 6 out of 6 over here. Okay? So we'll start the discussion exactly 10 minutes from now. All right, guys, I think it's a short scenario, so we don't really need as long. I'm assuming you've read through now. Guys, I want you to be very specific in your answers. So the technique that I've told you, the first thing you have to tell me is whether this is adjusting or non-adjusting with a justification for your answer. Okay. Let's see what you've been writing. Hang on. Wow. I have so many answers and I have to go all the way back, guys. Vasanta, very well worded. Vasanta is absolutely right. Neha, you are completely wrong. Neha, that's completely wrong, beta, because this is not the right answer. Sumbul, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Let me just have a quick read through all the other answers, guys. Yep, Zainab, you're right as well. Shahab is right as well. Ankit is right. Yes, guys. Okay, guys, stop. Syed Abbas, you're wrong. This is an adjusting event. Those of you who are unable to identify whether this is adjusting or non-adjusting, you will have to revise your accounting knowledge. If you could all please stop for a second. This is what you'll have to do for all adjusting events. So the answer that I'm now telling you, you'll have to do that for all adjusting events. Number one, you'll have to explain that this is an adjusting event with an explanation that because the financial difficulties had arisen before the year end, we just found out about it later. This is an adjusting event. So as at the year end, this receivable was not recoverable. We just found out about this later on. Okay. So an explanation that the financial difficulties were there even before the year end. Then you need to, like you explained why, which was financial difficulties condition was there even before the year end. Then you'll have to explain the adjustment. So even if she doesn't ask, because she hasn't done it, you'll have to write that the receivable will need to be written off, and therefore your receivables will go down by 283,000. Because I've been given the figures of revenue and profit before tax, this is an indication that there are separate marks for commenting on materiality. So if you can do this, you should, and we can do this in this scenario. This is material because it's 7.4% of PBT and 2.4% of revenue. So let me just quickly go back and write this down as well. If it's adjusting, let's add comment on materiality if possible. We'll just add that over here. So when you get the slides, you know this now. So this is how you get the 3 marks. Explain whether it's adjusting or not with evidence of why. Explain the adjustment that needs to be made. So like it has to be written down. And if possible, which is possible in this case, comment on the materiality. I'm opening up the chat box. Are we okay with these 3 things, guys? Sarah, no, please. Again, this is something which is relevant to IS 10 really. It's not whether the receivable existed at the balance sheet date or not. It's about the condition. The condition is the financial issue. Now, financial problems don't happen overnight, right? It's the financial problem had been there. It's just that we found out about it after the year end. So that's basically why this is an adjusting event. This is entirely IS 10, guys. If I just quickly go back to someone, whoever's name is not available, you had gone online, so I did not read your answer. Let me go back and read it. Yes, that's absolutely right. 60028. That's absolutely right. Okay, let's go on. Guys, Sarah, I'm just focusing on this question right now. So let's focus on what's given in this scenario. The next part is describe the audit procedures which should be performed in order to form a conclusion on any required amendment. Now, guys, this is very easy. Please listen to me. Do not type in. I have told you that there's a receivable of 283,000, which is probably not recoverable. Do you remember any recoverability procedures that we can discuss over here? How do you confirm? So what evidence can I look at to confirm that this money is not receivable? Anything that you can think of. This is information given to me. This is information given by the management. I'm an auditor. I can't blindly trust it. I'll have to audit all this information. Sarah, very well done. Correspondence with the customer is the right answer. Receivable days is the wrong answer. Minutes of meeting is the right answer. Analytical, wrong answer. Guys, look up. Confirmation from customer, Tehreem, very well done. Amount of received after the year end, very well done. Vasanta, absolutely right. If you could all please stop typing. Stop typing, everyone, guys. See, I can't write random procedures. Why do I need analytical procedures? Why? Why should I compare with days? I know for a fact that this money is not going to be received because I know they have cash flow difficulties. I just have to confirm it. So first procedure, I can inspect the correspondence between the management and the customer to confirm whether this money will be received or not, or the likelihood of getting this money. That's the first procedure, correspondence. I can do the same confirmation through a direct confirmation as well. So I can directly confirm from the customer the chances that they will be able to make any payment or not. So likelihood of money being received can be confirmed directly from the customer as well as through going through the correspondence. Someone answered very well, post year-end receipts. So if the year-end was 31st October 2014, you can look at whether after the year-end, any money has been received from this customer. And at the end of it, one easy procedure, guys. One easy procedure would be, you would inspect whether the adjustment has been made in the financial statements. Someone had written minutes of the board meetings. Guys, adjustments or double entries are not discussed in the board meeting. You can review the minutes to confirm what the management's understanding is about the recoverability of this debt. But the double entry will not be discussed in the minutes of the board meeting. For that, you'll have to review the financial statements to see if an adjustment has been made. So again, just very quickly, if I summarize this for you, I will give you no marks for general answers. To discuss or evaluate the likelihood of recoverability, I could inspect the correspondence between Bullfinch and the client. I could directly confirm from the client. I could also inspect the minutes of the board meetings to determine the chances that they would actually be getting the money from this key customer. Plus, I could be looking at post year end, any receipts from this customer, from this particular customer. And the easy one, whenever you're making an adjustment, you can always talk about review your ledgers or journals to see if adjustment has been made. She sometimes writes, discuss with the management, sometimes review adjustments. In this case, the director has very particularly said that I do not want to write them off right now. So my answer would be, I will discuss with the director why he's not willing to make the adjustment, and I will tell him that adjustment has to be made, and then check if the adjustment has been made. That's the idea for this question in particular. So ask the FD why. Why is he not willing to make an adjustment when he knows this is an adjusting event? So that's the sort of thinking on the event, the procedures that you need to be performing. Hassan, absolutely. You can write, Hassan Moose, you can write written representation confirming adjustments only after you've inquired from the director why he's not willing to make the adjustment. Okay, second point you wrote. Sarah, let me check. Oh, direct confirmation. That's direct confirmation. Shall I just write circularize? So correspondence, circularize, and minutes of the board meetings. All three of these, by the way, I'm checking to evaluate the probability whether I will be giving any opinion or not. Tayyib, I do not need to mention the opinion because it's not required. So no opinion impact needs to be discussed over here. Are we ready to do another question, guys? So now you have the technique, adjusting, non-adjusting, procedures. Be very careful that your procedures have to link to the information which is given. It's very similar to the substantive that we did, but specific to the information that is given. Right, guys. The next question, again, I wanted to do questions on this because this is a difficult element. For this, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. Now, listen to this very, very carefully. I need you to be very careful that for each event, you have to tell me whether the financial statements require adjustment or not, and you'll have to tell me the audit procedures as well. The mark allocation is not visible. I can let you know right now. So that the mark allocation is 10. So 5 marks for event 1, 5 marks for event 2. We will discuss each event separately. Event 1, adjusting, non-adjusting, the level of adjustment, materiality, and the procedures. So please take 10 minutes properly, 10 to 12 minutes, come up with 10 points for both the events. Do this very carefully. If you can understand and do this question, then you can ultimately, you are prepared for subsequent event. So this is your test of your preparation for subsequent event, guys. I hope you have pen and papers. I want you to do this in writing. So we'll start discussing this 10 minutes from now. All right, guys. I'm going to, guys, if you could please just stop typing, stop typing, stop typing. Thank you. Okay. I'm starting off with event one. My first, I'm just doing event one right now. Can you just quickly tell me, I think most of you have the correct answer. Are we all okay with the fact that event one is non-adjusting? Yes, it is non-adjusting. So guys, stop. Stop, stop. What I've done is I've made a quick performer for you for each types of event. So this is not an adjusting event. This is a non-adjusting event. So I just did this right now. Let's fill this up. So I know for all adjusting, non-adjusting events, this is the performer that I will need to fill out. Okay. I need to start writing and okay, so let's start with the first one, Mark. You have to, oh, sorry. Obviously, they were typing issues. So why is it a non-adjusting event? Can you tell me specific words, please? Because the, hang on. Has anyone explained why it's a non-adjusting event? Okay, so Serish, you've reworded it in a slightly incorrect manner. So absolutely, Mudassar has the right answer. So my answer would be, guys, Kiran, please stop. Yes. No, Zainab, that's wrong. As it occurred after, so reword it in a way that the condition, which is the fire, was it the fire? Yes. The fire took place after the year end, and therefore this is a non-adjusting event. So be very specific that this is a non-adjusting event because fire took place after the year end. Yes, Fazlur Murshid, there was no indication of fire at the year end. Very well done. The next thing you have to do is identify or comment whether it is a material or significant event. Now, for this, you need to comment on materiality. So this one, Mark, you can determine. So assets worth 675,000 were damaged, right? That was it. Inventory of 25,000 and vehicles of 650,000. Can you please comment on materiality? Guys, is this material? Total of 675. This is the total impact right now of what has happened. Is this material to PBT or immaterial to? Yes. So you will write 675,000 is 8.5% of PBT. Therefore, it is a material event. Guys, please stop. No, Sarah, no. It has not, Sarah, it has not affected going concern, but it is a material event because the loss that I have to bear is 675,000 of the profit before tax. And the next one, Mark, is because it's material, then yes, a disclosure will need to be given for this event. Disclose in notes to the accounts. So guys, 3 marks for non-adjusting events are basically gained like this. Yes, we can, Numan. All right, guys. If you could all guys please stop typing and listen to me for a minute because this is the only non-adjusting event that we're doing right now. So 1 mark over here, 1 mark over here, 1 mark over here. Okay. So this is the performer that you will follow for all non-adjusting events. Now I want a few procedures, guys. Linked to the scenario. Now listen to me. This is very simple. They have told me that vehicles worth 650,000 were damaged. How do I confirm this amount? Which record would record the 650,000, guys? What should I inspect to confirm the value of the vehicles that were destroyed? Nope. No, Sumbul. No, guys, please listen to me carefully. Think like auditors. All of you have the wrong answers. All of you have the wrong answers. Listen to me. I'm telling you, guys, okay, only one person has 2 persons, Neha and Bilal. No, the rest of you, other than Neha and Bilal, all of you are wrong. Stop typing. Stop, stop, stop. Listen to me. I'm telling you that in the basement of my office, there were 3 cars. There was a fire. All 3 cars have been destroyed. And the net book value of these 3 cars was 650,000. I can go look at the damaged vehicle, but that will not, no, Ramiz, if I inspect the destroyed asset, that will not tell me the value of those 3 vehicles. The value of the 3 vehicles can only be confirmed by finding out which cars were there. Oh my God, all of you are writing random answers without listening to me. Serish, purchase invoice. Guys, now I know why you're not passing F8. Please think with logic. You're trying to be accountants. You'll have to be very careful about what you write. The value of my asset is not the cost. The purchase invoice will tell you how much you bought the asset for. Insurance document will tell you how much the insurance can be covered for. I want to know the value at which these assets were recorded in my records. So the only correct answer is non-current asset register. I will inspect the non-current asset register to confirm that 650 was the value in my records of the amount that was of the vehicles that were burnt. Can you now tell me what will I inspect to confirm the 25,000? How? So they said the inventory approximately 25,000 was damaged on 15th February. What records will tell me how much inventory did I have in that warehouse or distribution depot on 15th Jan? Thank you, Shahab. Very well done. So your inventory records or your inventory ledger as on 15th February will tell you how much inventory was destroyed at the date of the fire. So whatever is written in the case, I'm confirming it. They said assets, the motor vehicles that were destroyed, their value, they did not say market value, guys. The recorded value was 650. I'll confirm it from the register. They said inventory worth 25 has been damaged. I will confirm it from the ledger. They have said, guys, listen to me very carefully, please. They have said that the insurance company has started to investigate and there are concerns that the fire was deliberately started. How would you find out the chances that you will be getting any money from the insurance company? How will you find that out? So the chances that you will be getting any money from the insurance company, legal, no guys, no legal opinion, no contract. Okay, Shahab, CCTV. Sarah, how can CCTV tell you what the insurance company is going to do? Serish has the right answer. Shahab has the right answer. Absolutely. No. I want to either check correspondence or circularize the insurance company to find out their investigation results to basically evaluate the chances that they will be getting the money. So I'm checking the correspondence to see whether they would be giving the money or not. Could you all please stop typing, guys? Everyone, if you could all please stop typing. See, procedures cannot be rote learned. And that's where you guys are struggling. Listen to my story very carefully. The company said, look at this. In one of the distribution depots, there was a fire. Some of the vehicles were damaged and there was some inventory which was affected. The company said that in that distribution depot, there were vehicles in excess of 650,000. So they are saying vehicles worth 650,000 were damaged, recorded at 650,000. Now, how do they know that the value of those vehicles was 650,000? I'll confirm from the non-current asset register. They said on 15th February, inventory in that depot was 25,000. Now, which records show the value of my inventory ledger or inventory records? So I'll confirm inventory records on 15th February to find out how much inventory was there on the date of the fire. Then they said, oh, there's a third party. The minute you see your third party, there are easy marks. I can either inspect the correspondence or I could circularize the insurance company and find out the chances that they will be covering the damage through their insurance policy. So these were the scenario specific ones. I'm not done yet. For non-adjusting events, you will always write these two procedures. These are easy marks. Discuss with the management whether they will make the disclosure and review the financial statements to ensure the disclosure is complete and adequate. So in an F8 exam, the minute you see identify that this is a non-adjusting event, this pro forma should come to your mind, and then you should start typing in your answer to follow this pro forma. Why is it non-adjusting? Is it material? Comment on materiality. If it's material, just simply write a disclosure will be needed. Procedures from the scenario, but definitely these two procedures as well. Let's go. Serish, what third party do you want to confirm? How will a third party know how much my vehicles are recorded at? Cost less accumulated depreciation, revaluation, impairment, that's my records. How can a third party tell you the recorded amount of my motor vehicles? No one can tell you other than my non-current asset register. So think like this, guys. Please don't rote learn your audit. Tayyib, no. Insurance contract will only tell you whether a fire is covered or not. That's it. It won't tell you. Contract is when you paid or signed up with the insurance company. It won't tell you what's going to happen with this fire. So it can tell you whether a fire is covered, but it can't tell you what's happening with this latest event. Tehreem, whatever amount that is mentioned, you'll have to tell me whether it is material or not. If you remember, materiality could be with reference to total assets or with PBT. Because PBT is given in this question, you add up the total damage, 675,000. Find out what percentage is 675,000 of the PBT figure. So 675,000 divided by 7.9 million. That comes up to 8 something percent. And because 5% is materiality level for PBT, then this is material. We did this in materiality. Yes, Tehreem, the total damage that you have faced. We don't have to do it. We're doing it because we want to find out whether this fire has had a material impact or not. No, Hassan. No, that's the wrong answer. No. Ramiz, no. The disclosure will only state what has happened and how much of the inventory has been affected. Because until now, the insurance company has not given any answer, so we can't give them a conclusive answer right now. Yes. Yes, Zainab, but don't just write correspondence and confirmation. You have to tell me what are you looking for in correspondence? What are you confirming from them? If you simply write inspect correspondence between insurance company and client, that's a 0 mark. When you look at the correspondence, what are you looking for? All right, guys, the second one. the second event, which is inventory. Do we all agree that this is an adjusting event? Okay. Yes, let's go to the adjusting event performer. Can you first tell me why this is an adjusting event? Guys, why is it an adjusting event? Let's go one by one. Let's not hurry. You're getting this wrong, guys. A lot of you are getting this wrong. Serish, that's the wrong wording. Chances of this event, that's the wrong wording. Yes, Sarah has the right answer. The fact, listen, the excessive coloring in my cereal was as at the year end as well. So the excessive coloring was already there. The problem was already there in the inventory. It's a condition which was already there at the year end. So again, why is it adjusting? Because the defective inventory, the condition of defect was there at the year end. Therefore, this is an adjusting event. Next question. Guys, what is the adjustment that needs to be made? What is the adjustment that needs to be made? Tell me the adjustment like an accountant. Inventory, receivable, payable, purchase, sales, what needs to be adjusted? And by how much? Come on, guys. Right, guys, come on. Tell me the adjustment. I am not continuing. Guys, why would you not understand what the word adjustment means? Bhai, double entry batao. Yeah, double entry nahi, but amount batao. Tell me the amount. It's recorded at finally Shahab. Thank you. Only Shahab has the right answer. Guys, how did you do your accounting F3? Did you rote learn accounting? It is recorded at 915,000. The cost is 915. The NRV is now 50. What is the adjustment that needs to be made? Inventory needs to be written down by 865,000. Yes, thank you. Guys, why are you doing this? Why do I feel as if you're studying accounting and auditing for the first time? So adjustment has to be done by 865,000. Now you will tell me whether this adjustment is material or not. The adjustment that you have proposed, can you please tell me the percentage? What percentage is it? Absolutely right. 10.9. Neha, you have the wrong answer. We have to talk about the materiality of the adjustment. So the adjustment of 865,000 is material because it's 10.9% of the PBT. Tehreem, Neha, both are wrong because you have to comment on the materiality of the adjustment. Right, guys, can I have some scenario specific procedures, please? What scenario? So they've told you that inventory, the cost was 915,000. How will you confirm the cost of the inventory? Bilal, that's a very generic answer. Yes, Serish, you can use the inventory records. Yes, your inventory records and inventory ledger will tell you. Guys, if you could please stop for a second. Most of you are only getting half a mark. What is check financial statement? What is check ledger? Listen to me, guys. Stop. Tayyab, what are you writing? Check material cost for NRV. You are checking cost for NRV. It's rote learning like this which gives you trouble in the exam. So cost is a separate thing you need to confirm. NRV, which is 50,000, is separate confirmation. The 915,000, the cost can be confirmed by inspecting the ledgers and looking for further supporting documents. No, we don't need an expert's report. 915, again, that's the cost. This would include, again, you have to inspect invoices, etc., to find out what that the cost is 915,000. So 915,000, first look for this in the inventory ledger, and then you can match it to supporting documents. They have said that the NRV is 50,000. So they can be used alternatively for an alternative brand for 50,000. How will you confirm this? Who can you ask to find out whether this is okay or not? So who's decided that 50K can be used somewhere else? Who do you ask? No expert, guys. Who said it's okay, we can use 50,000 somewhere else? Very good, Zainab. So you discuss with the management and you ask them on what basis have they said 50,000 can be used, and you ask for supporting documents. Okay, so again, supporting documents and the 2 easy marks over here, guys. Discuss with the management whether they will be making the adjustment of 865,000, and if they make it, you have to review to ensure the adjustment has been made. So the easy marks will always be there. So guys, the idea is the only way you can prepare for subsequent event review is unfortunately through past exam practice. If you are a repeater and you're giving me these answers, that basically means you have not studied your past exams. Anyone who's done the past exams would not make these mistakes, the conceptual mistakes that you're making. No. Sarah, this is basically asking them whether are they making this adjustment or not. I'm simply saying whether they will be writing down the inventory by 865,000 or not. I have to get this done before I sign the audit report. That's something else altogether. That's another discussion. This is regarding this one double entry. Yes, of course. They can refuse to make the adjustment. If they don't make the adjustment, then this will affect our opinion tomorrow. So guys, how do you prepare for subsequent events? You attempt all the questions which are there. One of the person, I think Ramin has said they cannot find the revision notes. They were uploaded on the first day. If you could email at the address that is being sent to you, I think they can be sent again. Yep, they're in the handout section. All right, guys, let's go on to the next review. I've done the difficult one. I've started off with the difficult one. Let's go to the easy one now. I'm now going to minimize the chat box. You need to be careful about the next review. It's very interesting. It's not as difficult. So the first thing I had to do was find out if there's any event which took place after the event, because of which my financial statements might require an adjustment or a disclosure. The next thing I have to do is find out whether there is any going concern issue. Please remember, as auditors, as accountants, for me, going concern is the next 12 months. My writing seems to be getting worse. It's the next 12 months. So in the upcoming 12 months, is there any indication that the company will not be able to continue as a going concern? That's the idea behind this. Let's start. The F8 exam normally covers 3 areas. They will ask you to find out whether there are any indicators that this company is facing going concern problems. You will be asked for procedures as an auditor, and this is something that is very difficult, but we'll do tomorrow, the impact on the audit opinion and the audit report. Let's start with the assumed knowledge. Now, this is something that you are expected to know from your prior studies. Please remember that there could be 2 types of impacts on the financial statements. The first one, if there is only an uncertainty. So I'm not sure that the company will shut down, but there's an uncertainty that maybe the company will face a going concern problem. In that case, all you have to do is give a disclosure in the financial statements. So you could say there's a lawsuit pending at the year end. If we lose the lawsuit, the damages will be so much that we might face going concern problems. So it's uncertainty. On the other hand, if you're fairly certain that the company is no longer a going concern, so you know that the company will shut down in the next 12 months, you have to prepare financial statements on an alternative basis, which is again the breakup basis, plus you have to give a disclosure in financial statements that financial statements have been prepared on a breakup basis. So in my earlier example, when my inventory was my major balance, it's all destroyed. Insurance company is not giving me any money. I was already struggling with cash. I'm fairly certain I'll have to wrap up my operations in the next 6 months. In this case, as at the year end, the financial statements will need to be prepared on a breakup basis. I cannot show my assets at net book value anymore. I will have to bring them at market value, etc. Plus, after preparing financial statements on a breakup basis, I'll have to give a disclosure as well. That, by the way, these financial statements have been prepared on a breakup basis. So please remember, for going concern, there could be 2 types of impact. Slightly less problematic is only an uncertainty because that's just a disclosure. More problematic is the fact that I know that the going concern assumption is wrong. So this is your assumed knowledge that you should automatically know from your earlier studies. There is some straightforward knowledge that you need to be aware of. Primarily, management's responsibilities and auditors' responsibilities. Please remember, it is the management who has to decide whether the company is going concern or not. They have to disclose uncertainty or make disclosures. So it's them who have to assess going concern. As an auditor, I will just evaluate whether their assumption is right or not. So they make the assumption of going concern, we evaluate the assumption of going concern. And as an auditor, if we think their assumption is not right, this could have an impact on my opinion and report. Again, stuff that we will study tomorrow. So we know going concern can impact financial statements in 2 ways, depending on how serious the issues are. We know that management has the responsibility of assessing the ability. We just evaluate the assumptions. Please do not learn these. These are extracted from your auditing standards. You just need to read through these when you're preparing for your F8 exam. Now, your auditing standards say that there are a number of indicators that could give you hints that there is a problem. So from the very first day when I started audit planning, you would be getting these indicators until literally the review stage. For example, I'll pick up the ones which are commonly tested in the F8 exam. So in the recent past, my key financial ratios have worsened. So I calculated the current and quick ratios. They have worsened. My gearing has worsened. My margins are going down. First indicator that something wrong has happened or I could be facing problems. Another indicator would be, again, someone from my key management, that this would normally be from my directors. So someone from the key management or the strategic level management has left. They have not been replaced. I'm concerned how I'm going to continue without this person or without his expertise or skills. Maybe there's a major competitor in the market and you're not able to sort of retain your customers. You have not been giving dividends in the recent past. Again, this is going to give you trouble because your shareholders will be upset. They might want to sell their shares and they will not want to invest any further in your company. You have been struggling to comply with conditions of loan agreements. So maybe there's a loan covenant that you have already breached, because of which the entire loan has become repayable. Maybe your cash flow forecast is showing a bad situation. So indicators you were picking up throughout the audit. In F8, you would be given a case. Please remember, you will not get marks until you explain why it is a problem, how it can cause issues in the next 12 months. So, for example, if the forecast for the next 12 months shows a bad situation, this is just identification. You'll have to tell me that this means that the company is going to face liquidity problems. If a major customer has been lost, you have to tell me I could face problems because my sales will go down if this customer is not replaced. If, for example, a loan covenant has been breached, explain that this means the entire amount might become repayable. Where will I get the money from? If the suppliers are upset, explain. So if suppliers' payments delayed, explain that they might not give us credit anymore, which means my cash situation would be affected. So don't just write, this is an indicator, this is an indicator. Explain why. Is it going to reduce my sales? Is it going to increase my expenses? Is it going to result in a cash outflow? Why are you saying this is a problem? Everything would either be decreasing my income or increasing my expenses. So until you link it to that level, you will not get marks for the indicators. So F8 exam, you given the scenario, you'll have to find out what the indicators are. Once you found out the indicators, there are procedures that you need to perform. Are they okay in hearing me? Okay. So guys, give me a minute. I won't be talking for the next 1 or 2 minutes. I'll be writing down the main points you need to definitely write in your answer. So I'm making this easier for you to remember. I'm not speaking at all, guys. So definitely write these procedures in every going concern answer. This is the simplest way to put this, so bear with me on this. So I'm giving you quite a few easy marks for procedures on going concern. Oops. Okay, so the idea is, and of course, hang on, I wrote, the last one is, which is the most important, case specific procedures. Okay, so this is easier because you can get so many marks by writing down the overall general procedures that you have to perform in any case. The idea is that from the planning stage until today, I was continuously getting indicators. So my suspicion that there could be problems was going up. Now at the review stage, as an auditor, I have to perform specific procedures. Your auditing standards say the first 5, they're not actually 5, they're more, but just let's think of this as 5. The first 5 are the minimum work that you definitely have to do. So number 1, you evaluate management's assessment. So you go to the management and you ask, okay, what is your assessment regarding going concern? What is the process that you used to make your assessment and the assumptions that you made? So in the first one, your marks will not be, so you're not getting marks for actually doing work. You're just getting marks for explaining that you will be evaluating by finding out how the process they used for making the assessment and the assumptions that they had. The next thing that you have to do is ask for the forecasted cash flow. Guys, please do not mess this up. This is not a cash flow statement. This is not statement of cash flows. That's about the past. This is for the next 12 months. So if my year end is 31st December 2017, the forecast would be for the year 31st December 2018. I look at the forecast. I will evaluate if the assumptions in the forecast are reasonable. I will perform a sensitivity analysis. So if the assumptions change, how will the forecast be affected? I will match it to post year-end management accounts. So although the forecast is for December, the month of January has already gone by because I was doing the audit. So the forecast of January can be matched with the forecast of December. The actual management accounts of January. So match the forecast to whatever latest management accounts that are available. After the year end, which is as of today, again, the same management accounts need to be checked any minutes of the meeting. Because if something has gone wrong, which could lead to going concern problems, this must have been discussed in minutes of board or shareholding meetings. We just did the subsequent event review. So definitely perform a subsequent event review, because that might tell you about events because of which the company is not a going concern. Very, very easy. Get a written representation. Actually, 2 written representations. Number 1, ask the management to write down their view regarding going concern. So if they say the company is a going concern, I'll say, perfect, please write it down for me. If they say the company is not a going concern, I'll say, perfect, please write it down for me. So either way, for their view, you need to get a written representation. Also get a written representation for plans for future action. So maybe they've lost a major customer, but they have plans that they will be able to get 3 new customers for this. It's about the future. It's plans for the future. There is uncertainty, so you ask them to write it down for you. So in every going concern question, these 5 procedures need to be written down in any case. The remaining will relate to the indicators that you have found out. So for example, if the indicator is loss of major customer, my procedure would be inquire from the management, have they found more customers? If it's loan covenant, my procedure would be inspect the agreement to confirm how much or whether all of it is payable or not. If it's the supplier who is upset, I can check the correspondence to determine whether they are actually going to withdraw cash or not. So if I go back over here, indicators will come from the case. Please go on to explain why it is a problem. Is it reducing my inflows, or is it increasing my outflows? So what impact will it have? If it's procedures, definitely write down the 5 which are mentioned, and then you'll have to write case specific procedures as well. So when you get these slides, all of these procedures are explained properly over here. Evaluate the assumptions, the minutes of the meetings, cash flow forecasts. They were already typed up, but it's easier to remember it like this. So you can go through all the procedures that you have to definitely write. So other procedures relevant to the scenario as well. Any questions, guys, before we do an exam question? I'm opening up the chat box. When we do an exam question, you will see that these are not that difficult. Muzammil, if it's a loss of a director, your procedure would be an inquiry from the management on what replacement do they have in mind. Have they been able to find a replacement? How is that person's skill going to be replaced, or who is handling their work? Simplest, discuss with the management whether a replacement has been found. Anything else, guys? Are we happy to proceed with the question? Sarah, the one that we just did, subsequent event review. So performing the review, the one we did before this, will tell you whether there's, let me just quickly go back, Sarah. So remember, sometimes because of a non-adjusting event, the company is no longer a going concern. Over here, impacts going concerns, right over here. So by performing the review, you will automatically find out if there are any events because of which the company is no longer a going concern. All right, guys, you have 10 minutes. Industry recession is when there is no demand in that industry, and therefore your sales will be going down. So smaller companies will struggle. All right, guys, there's a question up here on the screen. We'll start the discussion in 10 minutes. You'll have to identify the indicators and think of procedures. By the way, procedures you can actually get through straightforward marks as well, but I will be focusing on scenario specific ones. So we'll start the discussion in 10 minutes from now. All right, guys, I can see you have been typing in your answers and most of you are right. I am going to be slightly more specific now. If you could please answer to individually, guys. If we start off with the first paragraph, can you see my? Okay. So if you could tell me the indicators in the first paragraph. Strawberry has recently been experiencing trading difficulties. Major customer has ceased trading and the director has left. Can you just quickly identify the, or you doing it, most of you doing it. Cease trading, no final dividend, breach in loan, loss of customer. Let me just quickly read through, guys. Very well done. That's brilliant. See, I did tell you you'll find this easy. Yes, you can do that. Muzammil, you can do a procedure as well. But I would prefer that you don't do it. It's preferable that you don't make a table for this. Okay, guys. Most of you have correctly identified it. If I quickly write this down, trading difficulties, major customer has ceased trading, sales director has left, forecast shows a bad situation, slow in paying suppliers, they are threatening legal action, a loan covenant has been breached and it's now repayable, and no final dividend has been paid. Guys, please remember, and I want you to be very, very careful that you know that identification is only going to get you half a mark. So for example, why is point number 7 an indicator? Because they might not have money to repay this amount. If you look at the introduction, guys, please pay attention. They have an overdraft instead of a cash balance. Last year, they had a positive cash balance of 1.2 million. This year, they have an overdraft of 0.8 million. So my first indicator is, where will you get the money from to pay this money? Again, if you have not paid a final dividend, they might sell their shares, plus they might not be willing to put in any further money into this company. If you have a net cash outflow, that is very self-explanatory. You're going to be facing liquidity or cash management problems. Again, if you've been slow in paying suppliers, they might withdraw credit and therefore you'll have to pay on cash, a further negative impact on your liquidity. For legal action, not only will you have to bear the legal cost, you'll have to hire the lawyer yourself. If you lose the lawsuit, you might have to pay damages as well. Again, a customer has been lost. If it is not replaced, this will have an impact on your sales as well. And obviously, you're not getting the money. So indicators need to be supported by what's written in red. I will not give you marks until you explain why it is an indicator. It is not recommended that you make a table, guys. Yes, Muzammil. Consequences of each indicator. You can write the numbers, you can just do it as separate sentences, it does not matter. Right, guys. The procedures, without doing anything else, you write the 5 procedures that I've told you. You will automatically get 4 out of 4. I want specific answers, guys. So assuming you've written all these 5, I now want to see if you can make up specific procedures. The trading difficulties. Who can you discuss this with? So indicator is trading difficulties plus a major customer has gone. What's your procedure? So how will you find out whether this will actually be a problem or not? Who can you discuss this with? I'm giving you a hint. Yes, you'll discuss it with the management. What are their plans? Have they found a replacement customer to make up for this? So very well done. Sales director has left. I've already told you the procedure for this. we'll ask them if a replacement has been found. Cash flow forecast, we've already done the procedures as straightforward. They will automatically be linked as well. You're going to ask them, you're going to evaluate assumptions, etc. Plus also ask them how they will manage the negative outflow. For the loan covenant, the procedure, anyone? The loan covenant that has been breached and that has now been payable. What will the lawyer tell you, Ramiz? You're doing a going concern procedure. What will the lawyer tell you? It has to be something else. They have to give 4.8 million in the next 6 months. What are you going to do? Can you ask someone? Yes, I agree, Serish. You can confirm that the covenant has been breached. Very well done, Muzammil. You're going to ask the management how they're going to raise the money. Correspondence can only be confirmed, or the loan agreement can only be checked to confirm how much is repayable. But you also need to find out how they will give the actual money. So that is very brilliantly done, guys. So going concern, also not very difficult, mainly because if you write the 5 procedures that I've told you, you'll automatically get most of the marks. So this is not something that you will struggle with. I've minimized the chat box, and I'd like to tell you that the difficult portion of review is over. We have 3 types of reviews that we have to conduct: the subsequent event review and the going concern review. The best part is that the overall review is not an area which comes up as scenario based. This is something that is primarily tested as a knowledge based question. So if you could all please stop typing, let's go over this. You need to learn what happens at the winding up stage. Okay, very quickly, this is nothing difficult. Number 1, I will make sure all the relevant accounting standards and local law disclosures have been made. I will make sure all the accounting policy disclosures have been made. I will do one final review of the financial statements to make sure they are okay according to my knowledge of the business. As a part of this review, I will perform analytical procedures one more time. So the same comparisons, exactly the same comparisons, but this time around, I'm making those comparisons to form an overall conclusion. I will make sure that all the conclusions have been relevantly and properly supported. So you should see if the financial statements reflect your audit conclusions and the fact that you have sufficient appropriate evidence for the conclusions that you have reached. So if I sum this up, ensure accounting standards have been complied with, all local laws related compliance and disclosures are okay, all accounting policy disclosures are okay, review the financial statements, the final version, and perform analytical procedures on it, review the financial statements to make sure the conclusions are supported by sufficient appropriate evidence. So that's the sort of wrapping up that happens at the review stage. So basically, someone, probably the partner with the audit partner, the engagement partner, will come and make sure all of this has been done. So that's the final quality review by the engagement partner. One last thing, guys, at the review stage, you will also make sure that all management or written representations have been taken. So please remember, if you read through this, throughout the field work, you were taking notes where representations were needed. During the final review stage, you'll prepare a draft of the letter and the management or the directors will produce it on their letterhead and sign it. So they're going to give you the written representations that you were asking for specific as well as general areas. Now, this is something important I want you to understand primarily for your Section A questions. Please remember that written representations are produced or made by the management. So this is client generated evidence. Okay, so this is evidence which has been made by the client. Because of this is poor quality. So as evidence, you do have better quality evidence available. So you should also be always be looking for corroborative evidence. Corroborative means supporting. So guys, remember, for accounting estimates, I never said, okay, only take written representation. I always said do other procedures. For provisions, for NRV, for useful life, we never stopped at taking only written representations. We were always looking for supporting evidence as well. This is exactly what is written over here. Also very important, if the management lies in their representation. So even if you find one representation which is not corroborative by other evidence or which clashes other evidence, professional skepticism says you should be alert that they might have lied in the remaining areas as well. So if you read this, if a representation appears to be contradicted by other evidence, the circumstances should be investigated and the reliability of other representations should be considered. They gave me a representation that 5% allowance was enough. When I did my other procedures, I concluded no way, we need at least 15%. So their representation is contradicting my evidence. This is indicating they're not okay, they're not reliable. All the other representations should also be evaluated then. So I don't know if this reliability heading or stuff under it will come up in straightforward. I don't really think so. However, for application-based questions, you should be able to have a good discussion around this. Any questions regarding the review stage of audit, guys? We have now finished the review stage of audit. I go back. We can now conclude that review has subsequent event, going concern, and overall review. I'm opening up the chat box. The first heading under reliability. Okay, let me just quickly go back. Let me just go back, Sarah, and let me see what that says. Sorry. They cannot be used. Oh, because it's the point that I mentioned over here, that because it is weak evidence, this one, because it is weak evidence, you can't rely on this solely. However, in some areas, you might not be able to find any other evidence at all. So it's not as if it's always the worst evidence ever. So it's bad quality. Don't rely on it alone, but you should try and get corroborative evidence wherever possible. All right, guys, written representation will form. Yes, Neha, because written representation is from the management, therefore it is weak evidence. Absolutely, yes. All right, guys, those of you who are taking the exam as computer-based exams, I want you to be slightly more alert to what we are doing today, because please remember a few things. Should you be worried that you're taking it as computer-based? Absolutely not. Because The only difference is that you'll have to type up your answer. It actually does save more time. So once you have the speed okay, so once you've been practicing, then you should be okay in terms of the fact that everything else is the same. It's just the speed that is the different element. I'm going to open up the actual space in a little while. But before I do that, a few things that you need to be very clear about. Let's talk the examiner's language. Please remember that in your computer-based exam, you will be given up to 10 minutes to read the pre-exam instructions. These are not a part of your exam time. So even if you skip these instructions, your exam time will still be 3 hours and 20 minutes. So these exam instructions are already there in your ACCA website. Please do not wait for the final exam to read them. Go to the ACCA website, go to an actual pass exam, and you will be able to read all the pre-exam instructions right away. So my point for you is, do not wait till the final exam. I want you to read them today or tomorrow from the ACCA website. Section B. So section A is mini case studies. With each case study, you'll have 5 questions and you'll have to answer different types of objective test questions. For section B, each question will have a number of requirements. So question number 16 could have 3, 4, 5, 6 requirements. Question number 17 could have 6 requirements. So it doesn't matter. You will be only asked to use word processing tools to construct the answer. So there will be no spreadsheets given in the F8 exam. For audit risk and internal control questions, you might be given a pre-formatted template in your exam. This is what a pre-formatted template is, guys. This right over here. So a table will already be made. You'll just have to put in your answers under control deficiency, control recommendation, or test of control. If the pre-formatted template is not given, you can also insert a table yourself. In a little while, I'll show you how you can do it. So examiner says, I will only give word processing tools. Each requirement will have a number of, each question will have a number of requirements from the same scenario, and a pre-formatted template might also be given. In the exam, so within the exam, you will have some tools and guidance given. For example, how to use the word processing tool. So you will, if you haven't used Word before, it will give you instructions on how to use bold, etc. But once again, not during the exam. If you don't know word processing, now is the time to start. Please don't wait until the actual exam. I'm sure none of you are doing this. Again, also in your exam, you have general guidance on how to navigate through the exam and review your answers. Again, have a look now. So for example, I'll show you in a little while. Towards the end, you have something called a navigation tool. So you can skip to certain questions directly. All of this you should be aware of now. Please, guys, make sure that you use Campus Insight. This is a platform which has been reviewed and approved by ACCA. So they have reviewed it and approved it to confirm that yes, it replicates what the actual exam would look like. So you can play around over there and you'll have a better idea of what your exam would look like. You will have a calculator on the screen, but you can take your own calculator as well. So if you're not comfortable using the calculator on the screen, you can use your own one. Please remember that you need to calculate ratios. You need to calculate materiality. So do bring your calculators if you don't want to use the one on the screen. There will be a scratch pad on the screen for you to make notes. So scratch pad will have your notes. It will not be marked by the examiner. So whatever you write on the scratch pad, it will not be marked. Again, I'll show you the scratch pad soon. You have a screen splitter. So if this is your screen, your question is over here, your answer is over here. You can move this screen to make the question bigger or smaller. You can highlight areas on the question. On the ACCA website, you cannot do it, but in the actual exam, in the campus Insight platform, you can do it. So within the question, you can highlight to say, oh, I've covered this point. You can also strike through. So in the question, if you've already covered a deficiency, you can strike it through to remember that I've covered this. I don't need to talk about this anymore. Again, it's not there on the ACCA website, but it is there in Campus Insight. You can copy and paste, cut and paste within the answer area. So you cannot copy from the question to the answer, but within the CR area, you can copy and paste things as well. There's a reset button. Be very careful when you use this, if you use this, because whatever you have typed up, it will be removed. Only press this if you want to start again. There will be a warning message to say, are you in your senses? Are you sure you want to delete this? No, it won't say that. But a warning message to say, are you sure you want to do this? If you have accidentally reset it and pressed OK to the warning message, you can still undo the entire answer. So nothing is still gone, and the undo function will restore whatever you have reset. Your examiner is saying, so there are all these tools available that you can use. Your examiner is saying that within your answer area, I don't want you to use too many formatting options. The only option I want you to use is bold and underline. The italics, all of that, please don't waste time. Marks are given for content, not for how you are presenting it. So even if you don't use bold and underline, even then you get, like no marks are deducted or no extra marks are given. Like I said, you can insert a table yourself if pre-formatted is not given. So I'll talk about this in a little while. Very important, guys. She has said that at the top of the question, it always tells you how many requirements relate to the question. For example, I'll just show you over here. This is a question. It says this scenario relates to 4 requirements. So you should know that I have to answer 4 requirements for this scenario. This scenario of Ant and Co, 4 requirements are there. So make sure you answer all 4 of them. If the first requirement is 6 marks, you need to allocate time to yourself. The rule is 1.5 minutes per mark. So look at the marks available and only spend the allowed time. So if it's 6 marks, I allow myself 9 minutes. The minute 9 minutes are up, I move on to part B. When you start writing, if you're using a heading, bold and underline it. You can give subheadings as well, but please don't write like a FAF does. So you need to write in full English sentences. Check BRS for accuracy is a 0 mark. Okay, so write this as a full English sentence, not BBS, that was BRS. So you would say that I'm going to inspect the back reconciliation and recalculate it to confirm its accuracy. That's the right way of writing this. Like I said, your question is over here. This is pretty self-explanatory. Your examiner has said, so this is the feedback in her comments, that please remember there is no spell check in your answer area. So there's no automatic spell checking. Make sure that I'm not saying, remember, you're not penalized on grammar or spelling, but make sure you're writing the right spelling for examiner to understand what you're trying to say. Okay? So again, it's very important that when you're typing in a hurry, make sure you read back to see that have you actually understood what you've written yourself. She also said that sometimes within the pre-formatted templates, they were just writing note forms. So instead of writing full English sentences, you were writing the way a PAF does, which is one word or 2-3 words. So she said that you do not get marks if you simply identify it. You can only get through the FAT exam if you're writing as full English sentences. So a few things that have to be kept in mind. I'm going to do a brief demonstration first, and then I'll see if you have any questions. So this is, I'm on the ACCA website right now. You could also, because some of the functions are not available on the ACCA website, so it's best that you use the actual platform that has been given to you. So if okay, so this is the common things you're looking at. If a pre-formatted template is not given, you can insert a table. So suppose I have to do a question on control deficiency, recommendation, and test of control. I'm going to insert a table. I need 3 columns because there are 3 areas and maybe a number of rows as well. I could select Control B or the bold function, and I could write control deficiency, and then the recommendation, and of course write all of this, and then the test of controls as proper headings. And I am making my headings as bold. Once, like I said, the strike through function is not available on the website, but it will be available on the platform that you've been sent. So for example, you've picked up one of the problems here. They were at least 80 days old. So you can use the strike through function, which won't work here, to cross this. So I know that I have identified this as a control deficiency. So whatever it was, old inventory. So it's working as strike through here, not on the question, because this is the ACCA website. But other than that, you should just strike through on your question as well. Also, please remember, whatever you're writing over here, I am not going to strike through. That was not the purpose. Oh God. Okay, so you get the gist. Also, guys, remember that you cannot copy from this to the scenario or to the answer area, but you can copy within the CR area. So you can copy from here and take it down over there as well. Your examiner only wants you to use the bold function and the underline function. In the answer, she doesn't want you to use anything else. If you're not using a table, which is absolutely fine, make sure you give headings. So for example, I'm going to give indicators of going concern problems. Write down your answers. Then you give another heading to say audit procedures, and then you write down your answers. And then you give another heading to say impact on opinion, and you write down your answers. So for example, if you're doing, the question that we did today, suppose there's a question on subsequent event and it's an adjusting event. Think back on the format that I gave you and write down the headings right now. Adjusting event, I have to explain that. I have to comment on the adjustment. I have to comment on materiality. I have to write down the procedures. Without writing down the scenario, at least I can write down 2 procedures. So once my headings are there, I know I have to fill this up by reading the scenario. This is what I meant by screen splitter, guys. I am making the question smaller because I'm typing up my answer, or I'm making my question bigger because I'm using this. There is a highlight option as well, which doesn't work on the ACCA website, but it works in the Campus Insight platform that you have. Can I just quickly ask, do you know the answer to what's the requirement over here? These are 5 very easy marks. Can you just tell me if you've understood the question? Do you know the answer, the technical answer? The matters which Ant and Co should consider. Can you give me the answer if possible, please? 5 minutes left. Not screaming, screening. No, not just, yeah. So everything, the client related issues, the audit related staff skill, very well done, guys. Okay, I'm going to go back and see the questions that you have regarding the CBE. Let's see how this works. What is the first liner under? Okay, that's already done. Okay, thanks. Okay, sorry, that was all written representation. Can we use annotations in the exam question with marking color? No, Muzammil, no. On the question, you cannot write because you will not have a pen to write with. You will only be typing in your answer. On the question, you can highlight and you can strike through. So that's what you can do on the question part. Khajan Fatma, the answer is no. You cannot select from the question onto the answer. So no. Guys, please remember, my main point is I need to stick to the allocated time. Okay? Mudassar, even if you are writing 1 page for 4-5 marks, that means you do not know F8. There was never a guideline or how many pages you need to write for 4-5 marks. So if you're a repeater, this is why you're failing, because you're writing random stuff. So there was never a guideline for paper-based and there is no guideline for CBE. You just have to answer the requirement, be it 1 line or be it 5 lines. No, Ramiz, it will be automatically saved. All your answers will be automatically saved. Because you're answering under, this is Serish A, Serish Iqbal, because you're answering under part A, you will automatically be giving the answer to part A over here. So this is question number, I'll show you the navigation in a second as well. So I've already answered the save part. Yes, I'll tell you how you can skip a question. No, Sehrish, in 12:26, 1.5 minute per mark is only the typing time, the reading time. Yes, you can go back to the previous answers. Muzammil, if there's a power failure, then your CBE center should have a backup. They should have a backup and they should be able to manage this. Ramiz, you listen, hang on. I'll do this I minimize the chat box. I'm typing in the answer to part A. I go to next. Okay, by the way, it will not let you go until you've read the entire question which is there, okay? You've scrolled all the way down. When I go next, okay, I have to scroll down over here as well. When you press next, this is your pre-formatted template. Please make sure you show your wordings as well. And I have to scroll down for me to be able to move forward, guys. Do next and type in my answer. Okay, so I'm just going to show you something. So I'm tapping in my answer over here as well. If you want to go back to your previous answer, you have two ways of doing this. If it's the immediate previous answer, you just go back and it's still there. Immediate previous answer, you go back and it's still there. Go back and it's, oh, this is the instruction portion, okay? So you can go back immediately, it'll still be there. Another thing you can do, guys, if you could all pay attention, you press the navigator and this will tell you the status of your question paper as well. So section A, all these questions are unseen, so I haven't even gone to this. Incomplete means I've seen it, but I haven't actually attempted it yet. You could skip directly to question number 23. Write down your answer, press the navigator, go back to question number 19. So again, until you've seen all of this, it keeps warning you, please read the question, please go through this. So I'll go back and I can navigate and go through question number 14, for example, which should be an OT case. So the navigator will help you go to different questions. This is the calculator that I was talking about. You can specify whether you need a scientific calculator or a regular one, a standard one. So you could either use this calculator for your ratio and materiality calculation, or you can use your each own one. Sketchpad will help you make notes. Hi, hello, bye. And you could copy, these are your notes which are not marked. You can copy them and you can take them to your answer as well. So this is for your notes. Explain answer will not be there because this is your actual answer. So obviously your actual exam will not have explain answer. You'll have to explain the answer yourself. Any questions, guys? Yes, it is possible to add as many tables as you can. You can, Neha, you can just add more rows and columns. You can just add more rows and columns. Guys, please play around on the tools which are given in your CB platform, and then you would be able to know how all of this is done. Kiran, I agree. It is much easier than writing as well. If you haven't had a look at this already, Saqib, no, there is no WhatsApp group, at least to my knowledge, or I can't start it. So I don't know if there's already a WhatsApp group. You'll have to talk to each other to find it out. Guys, please make sure you go back, access your platform, and try and practice on it, because that's how you'll actually be able to get through this. It is, I agree, Tehreem. It is easier to navigate around this. Serish, you don't need to write question numbers, because when you're typing in under part A, it is automatically your answer to part A. So when the screen is on for part A, then you're writing part A answer. When screen is for part B, you're writing part B answer. So you don't need to write down the question numbers. All right, guys, tomorrow is a very difficult day because we'll be covering audit opinion and report. And I will be doing the going concern impact on opinion report, which is slightly difficult. It is something that you're going to struggle with. So please make sure you do come on time so we can start with how to give an opinion and make an audit report as well. Yes, all of fundamental level papers have converted to computer-based exams in Pakistan. If you're based in Pakistan, then yes, from this attempt onwards, everything is computer-based. In some of the other countries, Zainab, they will be mandatory from June. In the other countries, they will be compulsory from June. In Pakistan, it's compulsory from March. Section A has, yes, Section A is 30 bags. Zainab, I have no idea about Saudi Arabia. No idea. You'll have to find out. Sarah, absolutely yes. From September, the professional stage will have 4 papers in total. SBL, SBR, and 2 optional papers. So there will be 1 paper instead of P1, P3, 1 paper similar to P2, and then 2 optional papers. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will now see you tomorrow, and we'll be doing audit opinion and reports, so please be there. Thank you.